All right, let's jump right in. Today we're talking about a technology that is quietly but fundamentally changing everything around us. It's called the Internet of Things, or IoT for short. We're going to explore how it's basically building a bridge between the physical world we live in and the digital world online, creating a planet that's smarter and way more responsive.
So to really get your head around this, just start with this one simple question. What if every single object around you had a voice? I'm talking about your coffee maker, your car, even the streetlights outside. What if they could all talk to each other and to us? That idea, right there, is the core promise of the IoT. Okay, so let's start at the very beginning and make sure we've got a solid foundation. What exactly is the Internet of Things?
So here's the official textbook definition. It's a network of physical objects, things, that have sensors and software built right in so they can connect and swap data over the internet. The really key thing to grasp here is that we're not just talking about computers and smartphones anymore. This is about bringing pretty much any everyday object you can think of into the digital fold.
You know, probably the best way to picture all this is to think of it like a giant planetary-scale nervous system. It lets us feel what's happening in the physical world, process that information, and then react to it all in real time. We're going to stick with this analogy because it makes everything else make a lot more sense.
So if the IoT is this giant nervous system, what are its individual parts? What's it made of? Let's break down the anatomy of one of these connected things.
And you'll see this maps perfectly to our nervous system idea. First up, you've got sensors. These are like our senses, our eyes, our ears, our sense of touch. They gather data from the world, like temperature or movement. Then, communication devices act like our nerves, shooting that data across the network. The data ends up at the brain, which could be a tiny local processor called an edge device, or the massive processing power of the cloud. And finally, you have actuators. They're the muscles. They get commands from the brain and perform a physical action, like flicking on a light switch.
Okay, so now that we know the parts, let's actually follow a single piece of data on its journey through the whole system, all the way from a sensation to a real-world action.
This is the whole flow, right here. It all starts with sensing. Imagine a sensor in a farm field detects that the soil is getting too dry. That piece of data is then sent out via communication. It goes to the analysis stage, where a system looks at the data and decides, yep, these crops need water. And finally, that decision triggers an action. A command is sent to an actuator, which then opens a valve in the irrigation system, from feeling the dry soil to watering it, all without a person lifting a finger.
Now, I know this might still sound a little bit like science fiction, but the truth is, the IoT is already here. It's all around us. So let's look at some of the places it's already making a huge impact in the real world, right now.
I mean, IoT is popping up in pretty much every major industry you can think of. From the convenience we get in our smart homes to the absolutely life-saving potential in healthcare. It's optimizing massive factories with what's called the Industrial IoT, or IIoT. And yeah, it's making agriculture way more efficient, and even helping to run entire smart cities.
Let's start with the one we're probably almost familiar with, smart homes. Think about your smart thermostat. It's not just a fancy timer. It's actually using sensors to learn when you're usually home and when you're away. It analyzes that pattern to automatically adjust the temperature, saving energy and money without you even having to think about it.
In healthcare, though, the impact is, well, it's way more profound. Wearable devices, like a smartwatch, can track your vital signs 24/7. They can analyze all that data on the fly to spot any irregularities and can actually alert a doctor to a potential heart problem before it ever becomes a crisis. This is a massive shift from reactive medicine to truly proactive medicine.
And hey, remember that farm example? Well, this is happening on a huge scale. Soil sensors are giving farmers incredibly specific data about moisture and nutrient levels in their fields. This lets them use resources like water and fertilizer with pinpoint precision, which not only boosts their crop yields, but also reduces the environmental impact. It's a win-win.
But you know, making this seamlessly connected world a reality, it's not simple. The road ahead has some pretty significant technical hurdles that we absolutely have to figure out.
The three biggest challenges facing IoT right now are scalability, which is just handling insane growth, interoperability, which is getting different devices to speak the same language, and integration, or fitting all this new tech into the systems we already have. Let's break those down real quick.
Okay, interoperability is a huge one. The promise, the dream, is that any device can talk to any other device, no problem. But the reality?
Well, devices from different companies often use their own private, technical languages. It's like one speaks French and the other speaks Japanese. They just can't communicate, and that creates these frustrating digital roadblocks.
Then there's scalability. And this is really just a numbers game. I mean, it's one thing to manage the handful of smart devices in your home. It is a completely different challenge to manage billions of devices spread across an entire smart city, all trying to talk at once, without the whole network just collapsing.
And when I say billions, I am not exaggerating. By 2030, some projections show we could have 75 billion connected IoT devices. 75 billion. That is a truly mind-boggling number. It's nearly 10 connected devices for every single person on Earth. And a number that big is precisely why solving challenges like scalability is so incredibly critical.
So, the Internet of Things is creating a world that can literally sense, think, and act on its own. It's a world just brimming with unbelievable potential. But as we build this global nervous system, we're left with a final and really crucial question to ponder. As our world gets smarter, how do we make sure it also gets wiser? Thanks for tuning in.